Welcome again, friends. So this is the next video in my Journey into Homelessness series. And so as of the 22nd, I believe, of October, I was a bhikkhu for a year. So I'm officially 1 vasa now instead of 0 vasa. I had some fun with that in the past year, especially when monks meet each other and they ask, well, how many vasa do you have, so they know who to pay respects to and bow to and all that. And a couple times I said, I'm 0 vasa. And the monks would look at me kind of like, what do you mean 0 vasa? But so there's no more 0 vasa, there's 1 vasa. And also as of yesterday, which was Halloween, October 31st, that I have been in robes now 2 years total. 1 year as a samanera and 1 year as a bhikkhu. So I've been thinking about doing this video for a while, and a few things I've been mulling over in my head as to what I'd like to talk about. And so I don't know, nor as tradition has been, I try not to do these too scripted. I want to just kind of get in front of the camera and talk and kind of see what comes out. I think that usually is what works out to be the best. And so my year as a bhikkhu so far, and I went into it, I believe in the last video I made. I think maybe I made it 5 months as a bhikkhu. I'm not sure. I don't remember at this time. But one of the videos I made before I became a bhikkhu, I had mentioned about how starting to see the rules as like a blanket, like a shield, like a protector. And I still do see those rules as a blanket, a shield, a protector. But I'm now living, back then I had not lived under those rules yet. Now I have for a year. And I have to say, I was just actually telling Samanera this, and I learned more about myself in this year of attempting to do my best to live under the Vinaya than I have in many years since previously. It's when you attempt to live by these rules, you really get to see where your defilements are at, where's Mara, where your coping mechanisms are, all these kind of things. It's been a big thing for me probably the last half year or so, is trying to come to some kind of understanding or some way to move forward from. Now see, there's in our lives we all have coping mechanisms, right? Because what we do is we anytime that we experience some kind of unpleasant feeling or experience, we drown it out with some kind of pleasant experience. Whether it's drinks, drugs, sex, even just watching TV, or just it doesn't have to be anything big and major and that's what that you have to be guilty about. But this is just our MO, as it were. And I've been really thinking over a lot the Sadala Sutta, which is the simile of the arrow. Bhikkhu Bodhi translates that as simile of the dart. And there's this one paragraph in there that really hits me, and that I've really contemplated for these about half year. And in it, it's talking about how, this is the very famous simile where the Buddha says that somebody comes up to the Buddha, I forgot who it was, and they say, a regular person and an enlightened being experience pain. What is the difference? And the difference, the Buddha gives a simile. He says, when a person is hit by physical pain, it's like being hit by an arrow. But a regular person, when they're hit by that arrow of physical pain, they cry, weep, and lament, and hit their chest, and rend their hair, and all that kind of stuff. They suffer because of it. And that is like being hit by a second arrow. An awakened being have that feeling, that experience of the physical pain, but they don't have the second arrow. And so in that thing, the Buddha is saying, when a normal person is struck by this pain, they are, the first thing they do, because the only thing they know how to do is try to go to sensual pleasure. So we have this painful experience, painful whatever, it doesn't even have to be physical, mental pain, physical and mental suffering. And so we instantly go to whatever is we think would be more pleasurable. Think about it this way: when you sit down to, I don't know, write an email you don't want to write, or do your taxes or whatever, or study, and then, if you're mindful, you see this instantaneous thing of, oh, I don't want to do this, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're on your phone, you're going to Facebook, you're doing something. That's our tendency, that's our MO, to try to cover over, try to avoid unpleasant and drown ourselves in the pleasant. And so, we all have our typical, excuse me, what I call habitual coping mechanisms, HCMs. And, two big ones for me were eating. Many of you might know that I was very heavy at one point, and I had weight loss surgery, and I've grown up, and I guess I still do to this day, really. I have, emotional eating issues, and food is a big coping mechanism for me. And the other is video games. And of course the third is sexual activity. So what I've been coping with, or trying to work with, trying to manage, is how do I work with letting go. Now see, I can't do these things anymore, but yet I haven't reached the point where, I don't know how to take the second arrow. So how do I, in that in-between state, cope and handle with this, to really tough situations? That's where I'm at. That's one of the biggest things that I've been contemplating, and the biggest things because I've been really, this year has really shown me what my habitual tendencies are, what what I grasp at, what I don't like, and what I want to do, instead of having to deal with what I don't like. And of course, there's being mindful, observing it, sitting with it, doing all that stuff. But a lot of that takes willpower sometimes, and it takes a lot of insight and willpower, determination, and there's always a breaking point. So, it's, for me, it's been this interesting thing of like, how do you, and of course, the Buddha says that the way that the escape, other than, he's not talking about nibbana at this point, but the escape from, this physical pain he talks about is the jhanas, the deep states of concentration. So I'm not a jhana practitioner yet, but I'm giving up what I used as a coping mechanism before, so I'm in this middle ground. So it's kind of an interesting place to be. And I don't know, it's been very, very interesting. In terms of, breaking the rules and things like that, what I've really come to see as well is that it's absolutely impossible to be perfectly perfect and never break any of the rules. I don't think I think that's what people kind of think that monasticism is, or it's supposed to be. And what hit me many months ago was realizing, well, and when I was talking about the 5 precepts, and I always talk about the 5 precepts, about how the 5 precepts are, they're training rules. They're kind of, they're guidelines, they're rails that you set in place to curb your activity so that you can train yourself to live more skillfully. Well, the monastic rules are just the next level of that. I can't imagine, the monastic rules are there to train you, to put you in this certain guideline, to put you on these certain tracks. And you are voluntarily constraining yourself because you want to, because you know that they will be of benefit to you. So, in my year, I've had, ups and downs. There's been lots of things, like we've been very short-handed at the monastery. I've taken on a lot of extra responsibility. I've seen the importance of, seclusion and trying to do less work, or at least being less attached to things in terms of how that is affecting my practice and affecting my time and things like that. But I lost where I was going because I went off on the little aside. Let's see. Oh yeah, the rules. Yeah. And so I still do see those, the Vinaya. I still see the monastic rules as a protection, as a shield. But one thing that I guess maybe I have a little less confidence in, or at least a little bit more fearful of, is my, how shall I say this, my ability to live permanently by those rules. That doesn't mean it's like, I want to, disrobe. Actually, in the year, I can remember one time where there was a fleeting instant of maybe go back to lay life, and it literally was just a fleeting incident. And right after that incident, that little fleeting mind moment, there came all of the reasons not to, and it was like the go back to lay life was like a little ant, and the reasons not to were like a big mountain, and I was like, yeah. So this is not there's no doubt that this is very, very hard. There's no doubt this is definitely the hardest thing I've ever done, but it's also been the most insightful and the most worthwhile thing I've ever done. I can't think of anything that I've done or that I could do that is more impactful, more worthwhile, more worth it of my time than doing what I'm doing. And that includes working on my own practice and developing my own self and my new life as a monastic, and also being with people and sharing the dhamma and things like that. And that is one thing that I have been doing in this year. This year has seen me starting to go out to share the dhamma. I go to New York a couple times a year. I've been invited to colleges, and next week I'm going to I was invited to my old college, Stockton College in New Jersey. I'm going there for a day. To be part of this mindfulness, daily day event thing, and also I'm going to do another retreat in New York. And I've been asked to go a couple different other places and stuff like that. And it's been something that I've really found. It's interesting because people, when they come to Bhavana, and I remember this as a visitor, when the people come to Bhavana, it's like a wonderful escape in the woods, right? But that's because you don't live here. Once you live in a place, but what happens in your home, in your apartment, right? You have responsibilities. It becomes a place almost of work in a way. And so Bhavana has kind of become that as well. And that's one of the things that I've been trying to do to avoid that, is actually to really push myself to get back into, instead of getting wrapped up in the whole, Bhavana needs X, Y, and Z, and I got to work on my Pali, got to do this, got to do this, all this mindset that I remember very well from lay life. I'm trying to push myself more to go out, I live on a mountain. I mean, I can go that way for an hour and I'm at the top of the mountain. So I'm trying to remind myself, hey, I live in the woods on the mountain. Go out more, Go spend more time out in the woods. Go all these kind of things. Instead of worrying about bhavana and all these other things. So I'm trying to, in that regard, be more developing that quiet solitude and being outside by myself more and things like that. So there's always this balance. Like I always talk about this balance. There's part of me that wants to go live in a cave, and there's part of me that wants to be, be in society in a way to share Dhamma with people. And so that's kind of where I'm at. Okay, so I got a little interrupted by bhavana business, so I'm back to continue the rest of this video. So I believe I was talking about how this past year I've started going out to teach and do various things like that, and it's been a wonderful experience actually to go out. I go to New York a couple times a year now, and a couple colleges I've done and various things, and it's interesting. It keeps growing exponentially, and I can see in the near future, if it keeps going like this, having to be very selective of where I go, and I'm just starting out. But I was told by multiple senior monastics over these past years that I've been at Bhavana that if you if you are somebody who can share the Dhamma and go out and talk to people and stuff like that, then you're in demand. And of course, they were talking about when you're a monk for 10 years. This is obviously something that is very rare. I don't know if there is another junior monastic like me that's doing this. Granted, it's not like I just came to the Dhamma as I became a monk. I mean, I've been doing this for over 10 years now, but still, it is very rare that that somebody in my position is taking on the responsibility and is doing as much as as I am doing. It's interesting. I remember talking to Bhante Analayo the one time he came to Bhavana, and I spoke to him. I've asked multiple monks this question about this situation where, I was going back to, like I said, this is, as of October 31st, 2 years in robes. And within a month of being ordained, I was, doing a Dhamma talk and a Q&A at a retreat. And, so obviously I had concerns about that. And, I guess I still do a little bit, but I've come to the point where, this is what I'm doing, and this is where I'm at, and I feel like what I'm doing is beneficial. I mean, I think I'm very open and honest and obvious that I'm not like a senior monastic, that I'm not offering any more than I think that I can offer, with my over a decade of meditation experience and my studying of the Dhamma and the suttas for years now and things like that. I don't think that I've ever tried to bite off more than I can chew, which is important. And I think that people understand that, and I think one of the reasons why I am impactful with people is because I'm not perfect, and I don't come across as, I show my vulnerability, and I show how I screw up and all that kind of stuff, and people like that because it makes the practice, I guess, come alive to them. Like, oh, I can do this too. It's not that the monks are like these perfect beings hanging out with bald heads and robes and stuff like that. Going back to what I was saying about the Vinaya, the monks' rules being training, right? That is what they are. You're not expected to be perfect, but you, in trying to follow these rules and live by these rules, they are helping you to become perfect. Or at least as perfect as an arahant can be. And so, it's been a wonderful experience to be able to get out and to be among the people, and I can see how that can become something that, can be a very wonderful thing to do, just to go around and travel all the time and things like that. But then, I also see one of the dangers that I see in this monastic life is that you can kind of just get lost in the life itself, and just kind of become complacent, just like in any job, just like in any way of life. You can kind of, it's just normal and it's complacent, and then your meditation slacks, and this happens and that happens, and you kind of just get involved in the daily business, or it's also kind of easy just to be lazy. You're supported, and so I see this, maybe not temptation per se, but I see this ability to kind of just take it easy and just live supported, nice and easy, and all this kind of stuff. And I see that danger, and it's something that I don't want to do. But I think maybe the reason why it's so easy to take that route is because of how hard this is. Letting go is really, really hard. Like, I thought I'd learned how to let go of a lot of things in lay life. I didn't know how to let go until I came to a monastery to become a monk. I mean, it's just, and when I see I've been going through a lot of struggles, these past 6-7 months. And, while, like I said before, I've never done anything more impactful. I've never done anything more meaningful to myself. And I don't see myself ever wanting to do anything else. You never know, 10 years down the road. But what I've really started to notice in my practice this last couple of years, and I think it has to do with me being more aware and more mindful of how my practice goes, is that, I'm going along well, and all of a sudden, like, I hit this wall, I hit this rut, and all of the tools that I developed, all the meditative and the mindfulness tools, the mental tools that I've developed on how to deal with things, stop working. And it's like, literally, it's like I had a visual that I'm going against the wall. I look behind and I've seen, I've come so far, I've done so much, I've let go of so much. And then I hit this wall and I look up and it's like, I don't know, a couple thousand feet wall or something. I realize, oh crap, I got a long way to go. A really long way to go. And when I hit this wall, I've been aware of this for a couple years now. Every time I hit this wall, I go through this like panic attack period, or like this like period of like doubt and like fear and like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I can't do this. This is so much. But then eventually, so far, it subsides, and I get my determination back, and I say, okay, well, this is what I got to do. And I just take my, climbing tools and start climbing that wall and just trying to do the best that I can with the situation that I have. If my tools don't work anymore, well, I have to sharpen those tools. I have to develop new tools. And, that's part of the practice. Like I even, in a couple of talks, I've equated it to like a video game, right? It's like you reach you level up and you get to certain spots, and then eventually all the stuff that you had before doesn't work anymore because it was used and it was honed and it was developed at a lower level. Now you have to figure out how to work it out at a higher level. And so that's been my up and down, noticing like, I'm hitting these walls, and really kind of figuring out how to deal with that, how to work with that. And it's been hard. It's definitely not easy. Like I was going back to what I was saying before, it's very easy to just kind of let it slide and fall into the trap, but to really do the practice. And I see why. I was watching a thing, inspirational thing about like talking to like 10 or 15 different monks about their spiritual practices, and somebody made a comment that said something like, I about monks disrobing, and they said something to the fact like, I'd like to say it's maybe like one in 20 that make it or something like that. But he says it's really more like 1 in 100. And and I looked and I said, you know what? He's like, yeah, he's right. I can see why it's that that rare of a person who actually can stay in this life, and do it for the rest of their lives. So, when I think about this and I see this and I say, I don't want to fall into that trap. I really want to do this practice. And, even if it's to the point where my sitting, breathing practice is hard, well, I can at least practice Satipatthana. I can at least just be aware of what's going on in my mind and what's going on and these kind of things. So that's what I've been really kind of working on, trying to manage all the responsibilities of bhavana and being a new monk and like trying to, ease into this lifestyle as much as I can. And I mean, I obviously so much of it will come with time. I'm a brand new monk. I really am. Just like 1 year as a bhikkhu or 2 years in robes total means very little. There's so much learning I still have to do, so much wisdom I still have to gain about living this life. And I'm just at the beginning. And I'm going to be 40, and so there is this kind of, I practice my mindfulness of death every day, so there is this part of me that's like, damn, man, you're going to be 40, you don't have that much long to go, so you better, figure this out quick. But then there's a part of me that says, okay, well, I can't, this has something that has to come with experience and time and things like that, and I'm going to screw up, and I'm going to be a bad monk sometimes, and I'm going to be a good monk sometimes, and I think that it's important that as long as I feel in my mind, in my heart, or however you want to say it, that I'm progressing, even if it's slow, even if it's a slog, even if I'm doing, even if it looks like I'm not going anywhere, if I'm still doing my best to try to live this life to its fullest, meditatively and otherwise, then I'm okay with that. It's because it's gonna take a long time. And it's just so, it's easy. It's so easy to kind of let that go. Just like, you let things go in lay life. Just like, oh, well, like I came into this with all these ideals and hopes, and, well, I'll just kind of let that fall by the wayside, So, yeah, I don't know. So I guess, let's say I've covered a lot of the mental battles, a lot of the stuff with monasticism, and I've covered me going out to to share the dhamma, and which has been very, very positive and very. It's interesting because in lay life, one of the things that I did was to go out every 2, 3, 4 months. I went away from my state. I just went out to go out and to be away. And that's kind of like what I've been doing here now. I was like every couple months, every 3, 4 months, I go out and I share the Dhamma and I meet people and I develop the skills as someone who shares the Dhamma and development. And it really helps my own practice too. I remember going back to what I was saying about how, worries about me being sharing the Dhamma or being a teacher, if you want to say that, or whatever. One of the things that's been amazing since I've been doing this stuff is how much my own practice and how much my own understanding of the Dhamma has increased as I've kind of been, forced to really buckle down and really be like, well, you know what, this is, if I'm going to give a talk at Bhavana, I want to give a Bhavana talk, really like, suttas and what I'm really trying to do is kind of mix the teachings of the Buddha and giving people that, but also giving people how you live that in this life. Because I think that I've been doing that to the extent that I possibly can for, close to 10 years. Because the suttas are so important, but it's so easy for people today to kind of push them off as, like, oh, they're really hard to get into, or that's kind of like from 2,600 years ago. Is it that important today? And, for a Buddhist practitioner, it is. It's very important because it gives you that framework for your practice. So I think I just kind of was going off the rails, trying to think of more stuff to say, and maybe there isn't more stuff to say. That's another thing that I've been having. Most people, when they start talking and start teaching, it's like, oh, I don't know what to say. I've had the opposite problem. I'm trying to actually learn how to be more concise. In my Q&As and my Dhamma talks, and really kind of just being much more concise into the core of whatever I'm talking about. And it's an ongoing process. It's definitely an ongoing process. But, well, I guess that's about it. So, let me see some fun stuff. I mean, I guess I don't want to, but this is, I don't know if I want to say this is very negative, but I can see somebody from the outside looking like, oh my God, he's going to disrobe in 2 seconds, and he's going to, things are going bad, and all these things. And it's been rough. It definitely has, but there's been a lot of positives too. It's been really starting to kind of try to develop bhavana into a place that's a wonderful place that people want to come and to stay and really develop a community here, and all the things that we've started to do. And it's been there's a lot of meaning and a lot of purpose in that as well, although a lot of work and a lot of responsibility. And the few of us who have been here for these many months have really kind of come together and really become close in that regard, which tends to happen in these kind of situations when there's few people who are overwhelmed. And yeah, it's a tough life, but it's a good one. And I can't complain. It's hard, but it's worth it. I still don't know. I don't know I'd want to do anything else. So I guess I'll just end on that then. Well, friends, maybe we'll see. I'll do another video at 2 years and see how that works. I mean, obviously this is, the journey into homelessness already is over. The journey in homelessness still continues. It's only the first year. So we'll see how the next year goes. Or friends, thank you, those of you who have been following this channel for so long, and who've said that they have had much benefit from me doing this. I'm happy that I did do this, and I'm hopefully that I'm happy that this can benefit people now and also in the future, and continuing to do various things on my channel and all that. So thank you again, friends, for everything. And Sukhi Hotu, may you be happy.